Okay, so we started learning 2 weeks ago about bracha that for some reason we don't say. And perhaps we should be saying some of these brachot. Good evening. And the bracha we'll be talking about now is about seeing interesting or beautiful views, impressive views. When you go, let's say you go to the Ramon crater. You drive from Ale Domim to Mitzvah Ramon, and you see the Ramon crater and say, wow, what a beautiful view. So do we say the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit? The bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. You go up to the Ramon. Or even if you go down to the Dead Sea and you see the way the landscape is there and the salt, or if you go to the Mediterranean Sea, do you say a blessing on all those things? And the answer is, well, when's the last time you said the blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit on views or on seeing the sea? So the answer is, well, we never said the bracha, probably, or hardly ever said the bracha. And on the other hand, it is mentioned in halacha. So that's why it falls in the category of blessings that we should say, and for some reason we don't say. And the question will be, one out of two options. Is there a good reason why we don't say the blessings? Or perhaps we should be saying those blessings. Okay, so that's one out of two options. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Reish Kaf Dalet, he has different blessings that we won't discuss now. Of if someone saw idols that were destroyed and other things, we won't go into it. A king and other blessings that we don't discuss now. The end of Reish Kaf Dalet 224 says the Shulchan Aruch, Kol birkot hareya, all of the blessings of seeing. אם חזר וראה אותו דבר בתוך 30 יום, if you saw the same thing in 30 days, אינו חוזר ומברך. You don't say the blessing again. And so everything if you saw in 30 days, you don't say the blessing again. Now, before we go into the details of the blessings, today we drive quite a lot. And you can be in one day in Metula and have a day in Eilat. And even if you don't go so far, you take a train to Tel Aviv and you go by maybe not Tel Aviv, but you take a train to Haifa and you go by the sea. And we see many things more often than people used to see in the past. Sometimes even in 30 days. Even Ma'ale Domim, just going to Jerusalem, every day you go to Jerusalem, you look towards your left and you see Har HaBayit. Sometimes we pay attention to it, sometimes we don't pay attention to it. But we see it all of the time. So many of those blessings, even if we should be saying it, technically we don't say it because we don't see those things in 30 days. So that's the general idea of those blessings. We say them only if we didn't see that special thing in 30 days. And the reason is, if you saw it in the last month, it's not as impressive as something that you haven't seen for a whole month. And Chazal took the time of month. We sit in a few days that a month, 30 yom, has a significant meaning in halacha. So 30 days, that's a meaning halacha. And that's what we just start for that. Let's go about the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. We'll learn a bit about the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Good evening. And we will say, 1 second, maybe we should be saying that blessing, and when do we say that, when we don't say the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit? Reish Kaf Chet, 228. The title of the siman is the blessing on seas and big rivers, mountains and hills. Okay, so that's the blessing we say on them. To say those blessings, that needs to be something that impresses us and also wasn't made by man. If it's made by man, so you can't say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. It's something that we thank Hashem, we praise Hashem for the beautiful things Hashem made in the world. Said the Shulchan Aruch, Yamim u'neharot, rivers and seas and rivers. When we say a sea, what's a sea? Does a Kinneret count like a sea?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we call it Yam Kinneret, yeah.
Called the Sea of
It's called
Galilee.
Sea of Galilee, right? So I know that people will call it's just a small lake, especially those people the nerds who lived in the north of the States. That's a see, we live next to a lake, and that lake is bigger than the Mediterranean, right? The five lakes. But well, the first time I saw the five lakes, I got to the lake. I said, "Wow, you can't see the end of the lake. That's amazing. It's not a lake. It's something huge." Anyway, but if it impresses us. So we should say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit and Neharot and rivers. Probably not just small creeks, but much where you can see them.
So if you see a river or a dam or a lake that's created from a dam.
So a dam, no. So you don't see. Only in the river itself, not by the dam. There's a question. I tried to look for it in history books about the Niagara Falls. Someone told me the Niagara Falls which the stream of the flow was changed by people, and I couldn't find anything about it. Maybe I should check again now.
So, I mean, it's used to make electricity, but I don't think it's.
I think it's the same stream probably so you say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit on that, but
that part is almost as impressive as the falls itself. I mean, it's beautiful. That rushing water that comes into the falls. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is very impressive. So it says on seas and on rivers and on hills, especially if they have the difference from the area around them. And even the deserts, before into the army. So most of my army service I was in the desert. And you always think of the desert as a dry place, and that's it. But when you get to know the desert, you realize there's something very impressive about the desert. Even just looking out of the window here, something very impressive about the mountains and the hills and the shapes of the I wouldn't say creeks because there's no water there, but there is something very impressive and beautiful about the desert. Someone was advertising today an apartment for rent with a lookout towards Ma'ale Adumim, and it says beautiful views. Beautiful views. So obviously there's something beautiful about it. There is something very impressive. So we should say on that, Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. So it says, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. Baruch Ata Hashem, a full bracha. Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. So that's the blessing we should say when we see something impressive which impresses us. Shulchan Aruch here adds a halacha, which if we have time we go into it. If not, so we will not go into it. Hayam HaGadol. Hayam HaGadol is a special blessing for the big sea. אומר, ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם, עושה הים הגדול. I mean, we will take a few moments for the Yam HaGadol. Yam HaGadol is a special blessing, because that's a very big sea, so you say a special blessing, Oseh Hayam HaGadol. The question is, what is Hayam HaGadol? So Hayam HaGadol obviously is not the Kinneret, and not the Dead Sea. The Shulchan Aruch himself writes, the Yam HaGadol is the Mediterranean Sea. So that's called Hayam HaGadol. And he writes, Hayam HaGadol hu hayam she'ovrim bo le'eretz Yisrael u'Mitzrayim, which means the Mediterranean Sea. For that, you have a special bracha. It's close to Israel. It's bigger than the Kinneret, than the Sea of the Galil, bigger than the Dead Sea, bigger than the Red Sea, right? Because in the Red Sea, you can go by boat from end to end, from Egypt to Jordan, or from Israel to Jordan in an hour or something. So you'll be stopped by the police, right? But you can do it if you want to. So on the Mediterranean Sea, you say Hayam HaGadol, special bracha of Hayam HaGadol. Many other poskim say that's not called the Big Sea. That's only in the Mediterranean Sea. The Big Sea are the big oceans, okay, the Atlantic Ocean or so on. So for that you say I have a special bracha, but that's the machloket. And in the machloket we usually have the rule of sfek brachot le'akel. We will focus more on the blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. If I go to the Jordan River, do I say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit? If I go to Nachal, what is it?
I was just there today.
It's just a small creek. You'll say
the river that runs through near David.
Okay, Nachal Kibbutzim.
Yeah.
Right. So do you say on that? סדר שולחן ערוך. לא על כל הנהרות הוא מברך. Not on every river you say the blessing. אלא, he says, אלא על 4 נהרות דכתיבי בקרא. Only 4 big rivers that are written in the pasuk, כמו חידקל ופרת. And the Mishnah, and from the languages he uses, you can understand it's not those 4 rivers, but any big river, Mississippi, Amazonas, the Nile, okay, all a big river, so you say it a blessing. והוא שראה אותם, only if you see it במקום שלא נשתנה מהלכם על ידי אדם. only if you see it in the natural place of the river. But if for some reason the river was moved and the dug a tunnel and then shifted the water stream to somewhere else, on that you don't see the blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. So I think we still can't move mountains, but people did move some of the rivers. I think the Gemara mentions about one of the rivers in Bavel that was moved even 1,500 years ago, and even today sometimes people move with digging and things. You can move rivers, so you see the blessing on big rivers. I said that maybe not in Israel because we don't have such big rivers, but someone goes to Egypt and he sees the Nile. Someone goes to the States and he sees the Mississippi River, or what's the biggest river in the States?
Yeah.
There's another very big one, that pours into the Mississippi. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, so for something like that, you say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. You say the blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit, and also he says, "Ve'lo al kol harim ugvaot mevarech." Not on every mountain and on every hill you say the blessing. Ela davka al harim ugvaot hameshunim. Different, strange, special, impressive. If you go to Jerusalem, so there's many hills in Jerusalem, but you won't call them impressive. It's nice, they have nice forests, but they're not impressive, right? They're different than the surroundings. And you see how Hashem, in those specific mountains, not just in all the surroundings, those specific mountains, you say, wow, Hashem did something very amazing and beautiful. If you go to the desert, to the Judea desert, Midbar Yehuda, maybe if you go to Ein Gedi, so the cliffs there, and especially Nachal Ashelim, for example, or you go next to the Dead Sea and you look at on your right side, you see, wow, those beautiful cliffs. Wow, that's the Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. You go to the Kinneret, you have the Arbel Mountain. Wow, that's something beautiful. In general, we can say, if it's a mountain that you drive towards it to say, wow, there's a nice lookout here, I'm now stopping to look at the mountains, that's a blessing. We should say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit on that. You go to the Hermon. The Hermon is a big mountain around it. As I mentioned once, from where I lived in Beit El, I took pictures of the Hermon with the snow on it. You can see the snow. It's a huge mountain. You can see it from a distance. You can say a blessing on that. So do we say those blessings of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit? The answer is yes. We gave two options in the beginning of the shir. There are blessings that for some reason we don't say, but the halacha writes them. So do we say those blessings? And the answer is yes. But it needs to be something impressive that we didn't see something like that in the last 30 days. So, for example, we live here in Ma'ale Adumim. You see the hills of the desert. You move to a different section. It doesn't impress us so much. But if you go a bit more on a hike towards the Dead Sea and you see the different cliffs there, then you should say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. If you go there, you should say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. If you go up north to the Hermon, you say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. If you make a special hike to the Red Canyon near Eilat, wow, that's a beautiful canyon. Stop for a moment and say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. So we should say the blessing on those things. Some of the things we don't say a blessing for a simple technical reason. We mentioned that we say that blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit only if we haven't seen that specific scene in the last month, in the last 30 days. So let's say you drive, you go towards Haifa, you take the train, and you sit in the train, you don't pay so much attention to what you see. Next to you, you see the sea, but you're not so impressed by the sea because you're busy on the phone or talking to other people. So you saw the Mediterranean Sea, and you didn't pay so much attention to it, and so you couldn't say the blessing of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit because it didn't impress you so much. The next day, you take your family to a camping trip or just to a picnic on the sea. You sit down, you look at the waves, and you say, "Wow, that's quite impressive." But you actually saw it the day beforehand, right? So on a case like that, we do not say the blessing. Sometimes maybe we don't think about the fact that we should be impressed by the nature surrounding us. I remember when I went to the Grand Canyon, the first time you go out with a car, walk, and say, "Wow, that's amazing," right? Or we talked about the Niagara Falls. Or even if you go, as an Israeli, when you go to the Ramon crater, I've been there, I'm not sure how many times, probably tens of times, I think. Even after a month already, you forgot how it looks like more or less. You say, wow, that's amazing, right? So when a person gets to a place like that, we should be saying the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Can one say that blessing a few times a day? And the answer is yes. If, let's say, one day he lives next Ma'ale Adumim, he didn't go out of town for a whole month. He goes to Tel Aviv, looks at the sea. He says Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Afterwards, he continues up north and he sees the Hermon mountain. So he says, wow, that's a nice mountain. So he says Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. If you see different things on the same day, you can say the blessing even a few times a day. If you go in a family trip, does one person say the bracha or each one say the bracha? So in general, we say it's better that each person says a bracha unless you are considered as one group. For example, when we say kiddush, so since we are one group, everyone's sitting together, so then one person does kiddush for everyone else, right? But otherwise, if each one is sitting by himself and eating their own snacks or their own sandwich, so each one will say hamutzi by himself. It could be we can connect between, that's what Rav Eliezer Melamed tries to connect between the two ideas. If you go as a family trip, I remember once going on a family trip somewhere up the Golan. I don't remember where it was. All of a sudden, we see that big mountain on the side, and I didn't expect it. I stopped the car, said to the kids, stand up, let's go out of the car, let's enjoy the moment, let's look at the big mountain, and we say together the bracha of Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. So here is one group, Rav Eliezer Melamed says, you can say the blessing for one person, for everyone, and everyone else will say Amen. Otherwise, it's better that each person will say the blessing for himself. Until when can I say this bracha? Okay, until when can I say the bracha? Let's say I'm going on the train and I'm actually paying attention to what's outside the window. And I stop by and they go by Haifa. It's a beautiful ride, by the way. If you're looking for a nice train ride, so the section around Haifa towards Nahariya, beautiful ride of the train. Actually, all the path from probably Binyamina and up north. Recommend that if you just want to see the views, look at outside. Very, 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 very nice. You pay attention to the view outside, and then you can say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. You can say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. But let's say you're going to say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit, and just as you're going to say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit, and then you came into a tunnel or something like that. So if it's very close to when you saw the mountain or the sea or whatever it is, and we say toch kedei dibur, it's the amount of time you can say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, probably about a second too. So you can still say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Right? So it doesn't have to be on the first second. You go to the Hermon, you stop beside the car, you go out, say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit, and then you can continue. But if for some reason you don't see it anymore, so that second right after you see it, you're still impressed by it, and you can still say the bracha.
What about an animal? I haven't seen an ibex in 30 days.
So we have brachot on strange animals.
Okay.
The question is for us today, what is considered strange? Because think on the past, an elephant. When did people see elephants? Probably, maybe once in a lifetime, unless they're part of the Greek army that had a few elephants or some elephants there.
Seen in the zoo right here.
But you can see in the zoo, right? You see in the zoo. Every day you can go to the zoo. It's not such a strange animal anymore, right? The zoo in Tel Aviv or Ramat Gan has them, and the zoo in Jerusalem, I think, also has elephants. So it's not such a strange animal for us anymore. So for that, I think I haven't seen people saying a blessing on elephant.
Sheet, I said that bracha last night on none of these examples. Can you tell me if it was warranted?
Okay.
If it was. Yesterday they had a phenomenon in the sky where Jupiter and Venus
are very close to each other.
Very close together. Someone had a telescope at this place we were staying, and we looked at it, and I mean you can see it. It's an event that happens. I don't know exactly how long, but every once in a while. Not very often. So would you say it on that? I mean, it's you see like a big star and a little star, and they're very close together.
Right. So actually, almost every day, every night, when I go out of the offshore after Mariv, when I go down to my house, I look to the left, and you can see Venus. Venus appears to us as a bigger star, although it's smaller, because it's much closer to us. And then Jupiter, you can see it quite next. It's also quite a shining star, but
It's never been as close together.
it's usually down close to each
It's
other.
it's a phenomenon we don't see very often. So sort of similar like to an eclipse, which we're going to have complete solar eclipse, which we're going to have
Yeah.
this summer.
So we have it's supposed to have a sun. Okay.
Yeah. So these are phenomenon that you don't see. Would you say it on that?
So Rav Eliezer Melamed writes in Pnei Halacha that you do not say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit using a telescope. And also,
I said it before I looked.
Okay. And also, for some reason, it doesn't say here Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit on the stars. Probably doesn't impress us as much.
Let's just start here. I'm not going.
Yeah,
it's a phenomenon that you don't see very often. That these two.
We're very close. We're very close. It's a question because he says it does have here on it says here, look, the halacha beforehand, al hazikim. What's zikim? Zikim is a falling star. Zikim is a falling star. So for that we say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. Zikim is a falling star. If I would say that the two stars being close to each other is an impressive phenomenon. Since every night I see Venus and Jupiter, and they get a bit closer to each other every night, and probably now they'll start getting a bit more distance from each other. I can't say it's something. It looks like that's not something that you say, wow, that's a very impressive thing. Okay, if you said so.
And what about an eclipse?
Also, there's a bracha for it.
There's a separate bracha.
The bracha, 1 second. We didn't get to the bracha of eclipses. When is it the eclipse? When is the eclipse supposed to be? And then we can discuss that. Okay. So, although again in the halacha it doesn't mention a bracha for the eclipse, and we'll get to it very soon.
Nothing to see.
What is it? Nothing to see. Nothing to see. Okay, nothing to see.
Because all of a sudden almost
Yeah.
in the middle of the day.
Okay, so an eclipse. For some reason we don't see a bracha on an eclipse. Oh, we need to go to Mariv. So maybe we'll have a whole show about an eclipse, getting close to it. Perhaps it's tied also to the fact that we don't always see the eclipse as something as a positive omen, or something. Maybe it's a bad sign. That's how it was viewed, especially in the past, as something a bit negative. So there's no special bracha for
August 12th.
August 12th.
Path of totality would cross parts of Greenland,
Okay.
Iceland, northern Spain, a small part of Portugal, and northern Russia. Maybe we'll take a class.
Okay, a class. So Hashem will have a class about an eclipse. There's no bracha on an eclipse. As I said, it's probably not something which impresses us so much.
A partial solar eclipse.
So we'll Hashem have more towards August a show about an eclipse. Okay, but just to summarize, there's no bracha for it, and we'll try to explain in a few weeks, whenever we get to it, why isn't there a bracha, and is it a positive sign or a negative sign, or just a neutral sign? Okay, so that could also be part of the reason why there's no bracha for an eclipse. So just to summarize it up, for things that do impress us, like a falling star. When do we see the falling star?
Comet? Are you talking about a falling star?
A what?
Comet? A comet. Asteroid.
Yeah. That's what it's called, a falling star, right? In halacha, it has different names. It's called zikim, but who calls it zikim today, right? So a comet, yeah. An asteroid that comes in, it is special. Sometimes you go out, and when the asteroid is coming close to Earth on specific dates, so people will go out and stay up all night and look at the sky. We don't see a bracha using a telescope, perhaps because using a telescope it doesn't give us the same impression as wow, I'm in the inside without anything which connects me to it. Like a telescope, I have to be closer to it, so we don't see the bracha on a telescope.
See, if you see more details of the moon, you would be much more impressed than
it's true. But still, probably doesn't give Chazal didn't have a bracha on.
It's artificially
it's
made.
going to most poskim.
It's artificially made.
A telescope. Yeah.
And you can't see with the naked eye. You would have to use something
right.
scientific. It's sort of like changing a river.
So it doesn't change the river because it's the same moon, but it doesn't give us the same impression of wow, I'm here and I can see it just with a naked eye. I'm almost in it, like almost in the feeling of it. There's some kind of distance. if you wear glasses, you do say the bracha. Okay, with glasses probably still that doesn't count as something which prevents the bracha, and we should say the blessing. And mainly we learn from it. We should appreciate our surroundings and say, "Wow, there's something beautiful here. Let's thank Hashem for that." So the conclusion for the shiur is: let's say Oseh Ma'aseh Bereishit. When next time we go for a walk, let's have a hike and